Hello out there. I'm Chris Bisha, editor-in-chief of 360degreesound.com. We're excited for South by Southwest 2025, and as part of our Artist Spotlight series, I'm joined today by country singer-songwriter Paisley Fields, who's based in New York City and in Nashville. Thanks for joining me, Paisley.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to our South by adventures.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's
A
gonna
lot
be
of great artists going to be in town once again, as always.
yeah.
Um, so Paisley writes country music, as I mentioned. His songs are tender and authentic, but he's also skilled at the time-honored country tradition of double entendre, so he keeps it fun. His songs are mindful of tradition, but deeply informed by his singular background as a teenage Midwestern church pianist and a Manhattan piano bar survivor, and a former touring member of pioneering queer country outfit Lavender Country.
Yes.
Paisley has a new single coming out, which we'll get into, and he's going to be at South by Southwest in a couple of weeks as part of his larger tour.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is all true.
All right. Good. Thanks for fact checking me. um, so yeah, I'm new to your stuff. And I really appreciate your simple, authentic style. I mean, so much of country music today seems to be dominated by sort of performative stereotypes and kind of power pop production. Um, so I love that you don't cop a fake country accent.
Yeah, I try not to. I am from Iowa, so sometimes sometimes the country will sneak out, but yeah, I can't it's a pet peeve of mine when people really lean into that fake Southern accent.
Oh yeah, some of them lay it on thick, especially the dudes, you know?
Yeah, especially the ones who are, all about authenticity.
Right. Exactly. But I'm really digging the trad country vibes on your tunes. You know,
Thank you.
Tom Petty famously said that country music is just bad rock music with a fiddle, and that is certainly not the case here. I'm hearing some Graham Parsons influence in your writing, lots of pedal steel. So tell me a little bit about your instrumentation and your band and the sound you guys are going for.
Well, the Graham Parsons observation is spot on. I'm a big Graham Parsons fan. Fun fact, we actually, my bandmates and I stayed in the Graham Parsons room at the Joshua Tree Inn and wrote a
That is
song that
so
may be forthcoming.
awesome.
Definitely
For
play a
those
couple of ghosts.
Yeah, right. For those who don't know the story, look that up. You know,
Mhm.
and the whole story about when Graham died and how they stole his body and took it out
Yeah,
to the
it
desert. I
is
mean, it's
a
fascinating.
crazy story, but it just so happened that the Graham Parsons room was open on the day off we were in Joshua Tree, so we're like, we have to stay here.
Oh
Um,
yeah, great.
But yeah, as far as instrumentation for this tour, it's going to be me on piano. We have a drummer, bass player, guitar player. I like to with our last record, I had a little bit of experimented a little bit with some keyboards. We had a fiddle player, we had pedal steel. I love to play with a big band whenever I can, and really kind of for my next record, I'm going to be expanding the sound a little bit and then changing the instrumentation up. I always like to do something different each time, but we kind of stayed in that sort of, the 70s Graham Parsons feel for the last couple of records.
Okay. That's great. And I love your straightforward writing style. You know, country music is, to me, a very literal genre, and it's not afraid to tell a story and make honest statements. And you provide a lot of moving details about your life in your songs. I'd love for you to share a little bit of your background, and what led you to the country music stage.
Sure. So I grew up in a really small town in rural Iowa, and my first job was playing the piano in church. I come from a really big family, so we always had lots of there were always weddings to go to, and there were always the dances, and that's kind of my first exposure to country music. And I think I was maybe 9 or 10 years old. We started going to the line dancing lessons at Electric Park Ballroom in Waterloo, and that's where I really kind of had my first real exposure to country music where I felt like I connected with it. A lot of times, I would, rebel against it and I thought it was a little too traditional for me, and for being a gay person, being a queer person, I didn't really always gravitate towards that genre. But after being away for a while, it really, had sunk its roots into me, and I've always had that love there. And I came back to it, after living in Japan for a year. Strangely enough, it felt
Hmm.
like home.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So how has your stuff been received on the road when you take it out?
It's been, every audience is different. Sometimes people aren't really expecting it, but lately it's been getting better and better each time. We've had a lot of success over in the UK, which has been really nice. And I'm really excited to be coming back to Austin because we always have a good crowds there, and it's really nice to be playing South by Southwest again. And I'm looking forward to all these shows. It's gonna be a lot of fun for sure.
That's great. So you've played South by in the past.
This is our fourth year playing South by, yeah.
Great. Yeah, I'm surprised that I didn't run across you, but we've only been covering it for since the pandemic. When was
Okay.
the last time you were there?
Last year.
Oh,
We
my
just,
bad.
yeah, our first year was supposed to be 2020.
Okay.
Well, you're gonna be in for a treat this year. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Well, I'm glad I didn't read any of your bio before I jumped into your catalog. So I received the full power of Iowa without any preconceptions.
Okay.
It's a really, really powerful song.
Thank you.
And when you mentioned the boy from Wyoming, I knew you were referring to Matthew Shepard, the young man who was murdered as part of a hate crime in Wyoming. In the that was like 2000s, in the aughts, right?
Late 90s. It was like
The late
90,
90s, that's right. Okay.
98 or 97, I think.
Okay. Yeah, and it was a hate crime because he was different. And you touch on that a lot in your lyrics. So how did that incident impact you at that time?
I mean, it kind of reaffirmed that I needed to be fearful and needed to be cautious about who I told about myself. It was kind of I grew up in the 90s, early 2000s when I was living in Iowa, and it just didn't feel like a safe place because I think, where in Laramie, where Matthew Shepard was killed, it was very similar to where I was. And now there's all these things happening in the news with Iowa about, this anti-trans bill that's going through, and it's just kind of a long running tradition of hate in that part of the country. Not saying that everybody's that way because they're definitely not. It's
Definitely not.
a legislative thing, but there are a lot of people there who are discriminatory and hateful, and it was at the time it was pretty scary.
Yeah. I mean, it was really scary for me,
Hmm.
just, as a straight person, just it could because the coverage of it was pretty graphic
Yeah.
as well. So yeah, that's
I also, yeah, I remember there being a debate about whether he deserved it or not,
I
which was
know.
really kind of horrible, thinking back on it. And
Yeah,
that so normalized, even in the media. It's like, well, and like the defense was the gay panic defense.
right.
And this song
Yeah,
would
like
really help.
somehow didn't the one uh assailant claim that he was hitting on him or tried to make sexual
Yeah.
advance or something? Yeah,
So that was their, justification for the murder.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um But anyway, you're not afraid of tough topics and making reference to stuff that might make people uncomfortable. Other Boys is another one. It's one of your more popular tunes on Spotify. I really connected with that song. I think everyone has this sense of being different, of not conforming to the other people that we see portrayed in our culture. It's obviously a deeply personal song for you. Um, but did you also have in mind sort of commiserating with your audience as well with that story, with the lyric?
I'm really glad that people are able to connect with it because it seemed like one of those songs that's so personal that it's almost unrelatable. But in a way, I am I'm telling my story in detail, but I do think it is a song that anybody who has ever felt like an outsider can relate to because it's really just that core feeling, you know? So I'm glad that people are able to connect with it, even if they're not, somebody who grew up gay or, whatever their background might be, if just simply by feeling different, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about some emotional issues that I'm working on, and just realizing that certain things impact me different than others. I'm
Mhm.
not like other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I'm me, and
Mhm.
that's a good thing. But
Exactly. Yeah, we're
uh,
all individuals, you know?
yeah, exactly. So I think by making that so personal makes it even more relatable, interestingly.
I think that's an interesting thing about songwriting is sometimes you can have just the most personal thing and it seems like it's only relevant to you, but weirdly it has the opposite effect that it makes it more relatable because you're just sharing really an emotion, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, and it's more immediate, it's more vivid
Mhm.
than just sort of, platitudes that are more general,
Yeah,
like the
exactly.
word love,
Yeah.
unfortunately has kind of, what does it really mean
Yeah,
anymore?
exactly.
Um, yeah, and not, it just keeps coming from
Yeah.
Paisley. Burn this state house down. Uh, is a
Love it.
kick-ass track you did with Maya Byrne to protest Tennessee state anti-trans legislation in 2023.
Mhm.
I see it as kind of a love song to Governor Bill Lee in a way.
Yes,
Tell me
dear
a little bit about that
Dolly.
track.
Oh my God. That was I'm so glad we were able to do that. It happened faster than anything I've done. We wrote the song and wrote it, recorded, released it within like 7 weeks or something. So it happened super fast. I recorded it on tour. We did the shoot down at South by actually,
Oh,
and then
really?
yeah, shortly because we were both playing. Mia and I were both playing a couple shows together in Austin in 2023. So we did the shoot down there, released it, and I play it every show, and I am sad that it's still relatable. I wish it was irrelevant.
Yeah.
But I do think it's one of those songs that can be empowering to people, and I think it can help people get through these times that are a little, not a little, but very difficult, especially with all the new legislation that's coming up against trans people. It's constantly happening, and I think even though, it's directed towards Mr. Bill Lee. There are a lot of people who need to hear what we're saying in that song.
Absolutely. I could, just in these last few weeks, I mean, I could see this song being an anthem for lots of people for lots of different reasons. That chorus is so strong.
Yeah, do that
To
thing.
burn it. What is it like throwing match on this gas? That's a
Throw
bunch
another
of
match
gas.
on this gasoline. It's gonna burn
Yeah.
the state house down.
Every day. It seems like that's what's going on, man. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But the new single,
Mhm.
Poncho and Lefty.
Yes.
I'm so grateful that I had a chance to hear that
You're one of the
before.
first.
All right, hey,
Yeah.
pre-release. I
Yeah.
actually feel like a real music journalist. Um, so you did that with Laura Stevenson,
Yes.
and so the Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard version from the '80s is quite a bit different from the early '70s, Townes Van Zant's original version. Um, you know, uh, Yours seems to fit kind of in the middle of those,
Mhm.
It's more kind of perky than
Yeah.
Towns's, but not quite as ornate as Willie and Merle's. What drew you to this song?
I've been I've been playing this song for quite a while in my live shows. A friend of mine, we were looking for a duet, and all these country classic songs are either love duets or breakups, and we were both drawn to this song where we're just like, okay, this is something else. There's something special about this song as a duet, and I really connected with it, and I feel like it can be relatable today as it was back then. And yeah, I was just really excited that Laura was down to record it with me. She has such an amazing voice,
Oh my
and
gosh.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, she reminds me of Nancy Griffith.
yeah, she's incredible and just a wonderful person. Was really thrilled that she was willing to do it, you know?
Yeah, that's great. And your voices complement each other so well. I mean, you actually have some Towns kind of
Really.
vibe in your voice to me in
Well,
this.
thank you. That's a huge compliment. I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And is that you on piano
Yes.
on the track?
Keyboard, yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, we recorded that down in Nashville. Andrea Takic, who produced my last record, also produced this, and Aaron Lee Tasjan plays drums and guitar on it, who's another great artist that I've written and worked with.
Yeah, it's great. It's really, I hadn't encountered that song in a while.
Hmm.
And I'm really glad that you did that version. I went back and listened to the Towns version.
Yeah,
The fiddle on Towns's version just brings me to tears immediately.
yeah,
So I'm kind of glad you didn't have the fiddle in yours because I'm like I can't like talk to Paisley after I've been crying over here, you know.
right.
But you said you find it as relatable today as it was back then. What is this song about, really?
I think there's a lot of subtext in the song. Um, I don't, I think it can be about a lot of things, and that's what I really like about
Mhm.
songs like this is it can have a different meaning to you as it does to me, and I don't really want to dissect it too much because I
Sure.
have my own thought about what it's about, and that's what I like to convey when I sing it. But I think and that's probably why I'm drawn to it. I like songs that are a little, open to interpretation.
Yeah. There's a theory in writing for the screen where we come in late and we leave early
Hmm.
into
Yeah.
the scene. And
Yeah.
that seems kind of like what this song does.
I
Like
think so too.
it's assumed that we know, you know, a lot more than we really do. And
Yeah,
then
you're
we
dropped in on
just
the action. Yeah.
yeah, then we just kind of drift away at the end, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, filling in, our experience with with what's going on in the narrative. Very
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
Are you gonna sing it at South by?
Uh, Possibly. We'll
Okay.
see.
Is Laura gonna be there? I didn't see her on the
No,
schedule.
yeah, she's not going to be on this tour with us. Wish she was,
Yeah,
but yeah, I may be doing it as part of the set.
I'll
We'll
have to
see.
find out.
The band knows it, so.
Okay, great. So other than the new single, what can people expect from you at South by this year?
We got a couple surprises that I'm excited about. I'm not gonna say too much, but you got to come to the
Mhm.
shows to see it. Little teaser.
All right.
We're gonna be doing some new songs too, which is very exciting. We played a show on Wednesday in Brooklyn and played them for the first time. They went over super well, and they're just really fun to play with the band. They're a bit of a new direction for us, and they're gonna be on an album that I'll be recording this year, probably release next year, but you know how it goes. But
Mhm.
yeah, new music, couple surprises, some fun outfits, little maybe some pyrotechnics. We'll see.
All right. I always like it when people refer to assless chaps. Aren't
Yeah,
all chaps
they're just
assless? I
they're
mean,
just chaps.
oh man. All right. Well, I noticed that the old clock on the wall is telling me that I'm gonna have to let you ramble on down the dusty trail here.
All right.
But thank you so much for this time, Paisley. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you for talking to me. It was
Yeah.
talking with you. I
Yeah,
look
so
forward to seeing
he's
you there.
Paisley Fields. Look him up on Spotify and Bandcamp and YouTube and wherever else you find your favorite music, because this will be some of your new favorite music. And check out his sets at South by. He'll be at 13th Floor in Austin on Thursday night for the Don Giovanni Records showcase on March 13th, and then at the Saxon Pub on Saturday.
Yes.
So, and I'm
It.
sure you're going to pick up another set or two
We'll
along the
probably have
way.
several.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. And I'm Chris Bisha of 360 Degree Sound. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for listening to music from all angles. Thanks, Paisley.
Thank you.